Hello, and welcome back to a new video. We will take a look at the Minimap system, how we can set it up, how it works. Now, the Minimap system is made of an actor, so you can find under Systems, Minimap, you will find the actor and the widget. The widget is what we see when we click on M. So if I click on play and click on M, you will see this here. And you can also enable it from here, the Minimap. So they both works. Now, when you want to set the minimap in your project, all you need to do is the actor minimap bounds. And the widget here will look for this actor as many instances you have of this actor. So it's possible to use this system on multiple buildings and on multiple floor plans. And you can rotate it. So if you have a building, so let's say you have a building that's rotated for any reason 45 degrees like this, or maybe 10 degrees like this, or maybe 90 degrees, and multiple buildings, as I said, the minimap system will work. So let's say if you have one minimap system or one building, two buildings, three buildings, and they are rotated with different rotations, they will all work with no problem. I'm going to select the pan here and I'm going to set it here, okay? So when I click on play, let's click on play here, and you will see immediately if you click on M, we are inside the minimap and it's rotated probably on our UI. So whatever the rotation in the world is, we will always see it correctly in our user interface. And by correctly, I mean we are going to see it exactly as we see it in our texture image. So if we go to the image here where we have the floor plans, and if we click on the image here, it will be like this aligned in our user interface, no matter of the rotation in the world here. Now, let me delete these minimaps in the world and let's focus on just one. And let me also talk about something that's kind of important. Now, you will notice in this specific video that the minimap floor plan I have is not centered. But when you download it in the upcoming update, I will center this for the best user experience. However, you can place this image here. You can place it here. You can have a non-square image. It also works because I've done all the math in the past. There is like 20 lessons I covered with my students. Now, with that said, it's best if you create your textures like this. It's best if you make your textures square because the user interface we have on our image here is square. So if it's not square, there might be some very quick stretching and things will be fine, but it's preferred for your texture to be squared. That's one. And two, for the best user experience, it is preferred to have your texture centered. However, if there are scenarios where it's not squared, so let's say it's 16 by 9 and it's not centered, that's kind of fine, but I really advise to use square textures and to center your floor plan in the center, okay? Now, with that being said, if you want to find the minimap, as I said, there are two actors. The main actor you want in your levels is blueprint, minimap, bounds. So when you click and drag and place this in your level, it will be empty like this. So you're gonna have the floor plan settings and the floor plan box collision. This here will extend the moment you add your floor plans. And for the floor plan settings, we have a couple of settings to be aware of. First of all, we have refresh settings, and that's important if we have an aspect ratio that is not 1:1 or if we change the scale, and we will always change the scale. I will show you how this works. Now, aspect ratio, this does not change the moment you add an image. Right now you can change it, but this is not meant to change. The only setting that is meant to change is the floor plan scale. And this here is for debugging. I will show you what that is in a second. So I'm going to add a layer. For the floor plan texture, what you want to do is to find your texture. So for testing purposes, I'm going to add this here, and I'm going to select my actor, and I'm going to assign the texture like so, okay? So let's raise the texture slightly above the floor. So you can do that from the floor plan height. You can set it to 0, 50, 1, 500, whatever you want. And notice the moment we start changing the height here also will change. So if I set this to 1, this is kind of fine, but if you want to have more, then you can set this from here, the Z height. And for the X and Y, depending on your floor plan, if you want more space or if you want to activate your floor plan earlier, you can also do that. So let's say if I want to activate the floor plan from this distance, you can do that and the player icon will be on the edge. So if I show you what that looks like, now when you spawn, you will not see the floor plan because it's not meant to be seen within the experience. But if we click on M, as you can see, we are working now on the edges of the floor plan. Okay? Okay. Something you may have noticed, like, this is the building and this is the floor plan. This is way too small. And that's why we have a global setting, which is the floor plan scale. This is 5 times, almost 5 times smaller than this. And after calculations, so basically here's what I did. If you have a project and you want to measure your floor plans, and by the way, now this is a good time to disable this. Set floor plan hidden in game. No. Now when I press on G, this will stay visible. So now I can select this corner, and I can select this corner, and I can select the floor if I want, and I can also select my floor plan. So the floor plan have this icon to make it easier to select. So let's select these and let's isolate our selection. And let me press Ctrl Z a couple of times to make sure that I have these elements selected, and now I can isolate. And if you don't know by now, you must really watch my Unreal Engine tips for the such things, because isolation is set from the visibility. You can set your own custom shortcuts. Now, the thing about the floor plans, you can place them in freely in the world, you can rotate them freely in the world, but that also comes with its own caveat, and that is you need to measure your own distances. So the first setup will take some time, maybe 10 minutes, 20 minutes maximum, depending on your project and the complexity, but it is a process of trial and error. So that's why I do recommend to having your images centered. It will make it really much easier to place your floor plan and to have them also in a scale of 1 by 1. It will be much easier. I'm going to set the scale here. So the way I've done it, I would set the scale, for example, to something like 6. And I know we've selected these points, this corner and this corner. So I would select my floor plan and I would try to align it as much as possible. So I would go to the top view and I would switch to unlit mode because we will be able to see the geometry. That's how we made the blueprint. And I will try to set this here. So now this corner, but this corner is here and this corner is here. So this would tell us like, okay, 6 is kind of too much. So if you set it to 4, and this might look promising, but no, it's not. So in between, we have 5. So if I place this here and this here, it's almost there. So something to kind of annoying about unlit mode, if you zoom in too much, the mesh will disappear. So Unreal could make our life easier, but no, not today. So you want not to zoom in too much, like this kind of work. I zoom now more, this is gone. So this is kind of okay. So okay, 5, this is almost working, right? So what about 5.1 or 5.2? Let's see. So this is here, needs to go. So now what you can do, let's just use our good old gizmo. And now it's kind of aligned. So 5.2 is too much. So you want to do 5.1. Okay. So it's best to select the corners and then move your project around. But after some experimenting around, going from one corner to one corner and moving things around to align as much as possible, for me the value was 5.13 to get the minimap aligned perfectly on my project, as you can see here. Now, once you align your minimap, you can align all the other floors just by adding them. So once you align the ground floor or any of the floors, you're good to go. So you can align, let's say, this floor or the roof floor if it's easier, and then you can add all the other layers. So if I press Ctrl Z a couple of times again, real quick, just to bring this guy here. Now, if I want to add another layer, I can click on add, and I would set this. Let's say this is the first floor, and the floor plan name is just for you to distinguish between selected floors if your texture is not named. And this one here is the ground floor, and the height is usually 1 or 0 or 20 depending on the height of the floor. So it might be 0 or it might be 20. That's fine. Now, let's say we want the first floor now. So I would select the first floor texture and I would assign it here, and it will spawn a plan for us or a plane mesh for us. So if you go to the wireframe, this is the plane mesh and this is the image. All of it is covering the complete mesh, and we are using opacity to have this part visible based on the blackness of the floor plan. So if you go to unlet, this will resemble geometry in a way. Now we need to place our first floor mesh on the first floor. So that's around 500. So right now the floor plan height is 0. So if you click and drag, this will now move your floor plan to wherever it's needed. So basically you want to set it on the floor. Okay, so that's like 460, 500, it depends. So once you do that multiple times, here I have my actor. This is 512, 20. This is here for the next one, 871. And let's say I have this floor, the 8th floor. All I need to do is to add a new array element and then to select my floor plan. So this is ground floor, first floor, then floors 2 to 7. They are the same. So I can duplicate this, shift and right click, shift, left click, and this here should be the floor. So that's why it's important to name these. This is the first floor and this is floor 2, and let's say this is floor 3, right? Now floor 3, we need to move it to the top. So let's set the height here. I think should be 900. No, it should be slightly more. So let's move it like so. So this is 100, 1240. If you set it exactly on the floor, so let's say this is 30 then, almost, let's set it 20, you will have this effect. So I'm gonna put just 1 instead of like 1220, let's set it to 1221, okay? And we will not have that effect. Overlapping effect, I remember. Now you can keep doing the same and that's it. So let's say I want to add another floor, final floor. What I need to do is to add another element like so. And let's say this one will be floor 8 to 9. So this one here. And now let's increase the height of this floor. And let's set it to 3000 or 2980. Yeah, we're almost there. So if I want to be like perfect, let's set it to 70 and let's add 1 for the overlapping not to happen. Now when I click on play and let's bring our minimap, if I go where I have my bounds, so let me click on show collision to show you. So this is our minimap bounds. If I get here, this will activate the minimap, and that's kind of fine for me. So the reason you would like to set the image in the center is to not have this all the way here, because this will be extra space. So once you enter, I'm going to zoom in as you can see, and it just works. So some of the features I have in the minimap, when you near a corner, it will snap to the corner. So it will be easier to see our player. And we get further and further from the corner. Now the player is almost centered. The camera is following the player. But once you get near an edge or a corner, it will snap the view to a corner. And that is a setting that you can change from the overlay here. So under the graph, edge threshold. So this here, the edge threshold, you can either increase or decrease this variable, and it's in our blueprint here. So in the minimap overlay, the edge threshold, if you increase this or decrease it, the snapping to the edge will change based on that threshold. Okay? And again, that's why I prefer to keep my images in the center, to have like, that's how it's meant to do, especially for things like the edge threshold. Now I can zoom out like so, and we can still see the player, and I can zoom in and we can still see the player, and that's nice. So let's say I want to move on to another floor. So I can go now to the ground floor. This is where we are. Let's go to the first floor and we are in the first floor now. So I go through the door, I zoom in. So that's regarding the edge threshold. It will snap to the edge, so you may not want to zoom too much. This is something for you to control, to zoom a little bit if you don't see the player, and you can adjust the edge threshold based on your project. So let me also disable the collision because it's creating some artifacts. So let's set show collision set to 0, and now you can see that this is working. So let's say I want to move on to another floor. So let's say second floor, it just works. So now if you go to the balcony, this is the balcony, and let's disable this for a second. We are walking now nicely in the balcony, and if I move fast all the way to the oh yeah, that's too fast. We lost the minimap, which is fine. So let's click on teleport again, and let's move to the public terrace outside. And if you zoom in, based on the quality of the image, you get what you put actually. So this is a low quality image, that's fine, but we can see the edges. So here we see the elevator. If I get too close, you can see the player. So let's zoom out a little, and you can see that we have the player. Okay, so let's say the edge threshold is set to 0. Okay, click on play, and let's bring the minimap, and let's zoom in. As you can see, there is no edge threshold anymore, and it makes following the player without an edge threshold kind of hard. That's why I implemented the edge threshold, because I want to see the rest of my floor plan without going all the way to the edge of my floor plan. So that was also very interesting to create, to tackle. So by default is set to 0.25, but maybe in this scenario where I have my image on the side and I have a slightly large floor plan, I can set this to 0.15, 0.15, if you will. So now let's bring the minimap and let's zoom a little, couple of times, and let's jump here. As you can see, if you get close, here's the edge threshold, and this is here too, and yeah, it just works. So that's regarding the minimap system. I think this is one of the most interesting systems to play with. It feels nice when you are exploring your project and you can see your player with the minimap on it, and you can navigate things and you can get creative with the pictures. So you can put different types of photos for your minimap, like with names of the rooms and information and so on, not just black and white images as I have here. Like these are taken from AutoCAD or Max, and easy peasy. So yeah, I hope you found this one useful. If you have any questions, let me know. If you have any suggestions and ideas, also let me know. As always, thank you so much for watching. Stay hydrated, and I will see you in the next one. Take care.